Hello world, Stephen Michael Zach here, and today we're finally looking at the SmallRig 120D. This is the daylight version of their new Cobb LED. Now, before we get started, I bought this with my own money, so these are my own honest and brutal opinions as always. So, let's jump right in and take a look at what comes inside the box. Now, first off, we have this case, and again, it seems to be very well made, very solid. You get nice Velcro, you get really nice straps, you get very premium zippers, and you get a nice lid. Now, inside is a little puzzling and a little interesting. Now, you do get these straps to adjust here, and of course, you're going to get a shoulder strap and a whole bunch of stickers and instructions and things I won't even show you. So let's go ahead and let's take a look inside here. Now, you get this kind of like foam here, and I'm not a huge fan of this, but the entire case is this kind of cheap plastic rippable foam. Now, this is so thin right here, this is eventually going to rip. And it's so jigsaw puzzled in that it's a little bit difficult to actually put this back in. But you remove these very cheap pieces of foam, and you're gonna get pretty much the cord. You're going to get the power brick, and you do get very lengthy cords with these. You're going to get the dish here, which again, it has like this little foam thing that kind of goes into it. I had to try to figure out how to take it out. And then you get this very nice, there's very nice foam in here. I really like the material and the build of this. It's very cool. And of course, you get your dish, which is pretty solid. And then you get the light itself, which is super heavy. And that's pretty much it. That is the case. Now, my main concern is this stuff is very tearable and rippable. I'm afraid that this is going to eventually go. So my suggestion would be to probably most likely replace the foam in there. Now let's take a look at the light itself. Now, you do get this very nice protective cap, and that seems pretty good. Now let's take a look at the light itself. Now, you have this very nice release trigger up top here, which works very well. I really like this. But I am going to tell you this sucker is heavy. It is about as heavy as the Aperture 60D. I was surprised how heavy this was, considering that it's supposed to be like the Aperture 100X or 100D. This is not made of plastic. I mean, there are some plastic pieces here, but I can definitely tell that there is a full like heat sink in here, a full, almost like a computer, almost like you have one of those big computer heat sinks. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is pretty much metal and a very heavy kind of plastic. The mount is all metal, and it is a ratchet mount, not a Rosetta mount, so I really love this. Plus, it is made of all metal. The handle, however, is a cheap plastic, so that will probably most likely eventually break. And of course, you do get a little umbrella holder off to the side, which is very cool. But yeah, this thing is made like a tank, very heavy, very surprising. On the back, you get your on-off button, you get your XLR connector, and you do have some very nice buttons. This one, it clicks in, this one just turns. And that's pretty much it. Now, one thing I really like about this is it is a very long cord, and you do get an XLR connector. And that is for the top bit. Now, for the bottom bit, we are not as lucky, as you do get this kind of Mickey Mouse kind of plug-in here. And I really wish that there was a safety lock like there is an Aperture, because when I was running this earlier, I walked by and I just knocked that out with my foot. It was very easy to do. You have to make sure that this is in, because if it's just the slightest bit out, you could just tear it right out and turn off your light. So that is something to be aware of, that this is not the best connection, but it does work. And again, you get a lot of lengthy cord with this. But there is no way to put the brick onto the actual light stand, so you will need to DIY this. Okay, so let's take a look at the controls here. Now, first off, as you can see, this is not the greatest screen in the world. It does sort of kind of disappear at very sharp angles. So it will disappear slightly on you, but it's not too bad. Now, it does have a hard on-off switch, which I absolutely love. and you do get pretty decent. Now, the weird thing about this is normal is an FX, so the normal running mode is considered a special effect on this. It's a little bit strange. You have to have this on normal, otherwise you will be in special effects, and of course you get paparazzi, you get fireworks, you get lightning, which works very well. You get faulty bulb, which doesn't work that well in my opinion. You get TV, which only works okay. It works okay. You get breath. You get flash, which is annoying. You get party. And again, you get flame. And again, these don't really mean anything because this is not a bicolor light. So you will have to gel these if you want those effects. Yeah, so kind of weird that it has things like fireworks, has fire, it has some other things that just do not make any sense. But you do get frequencies as well. Let's go to let's just go to an easy one like lightning, and you do get frequencies all the way from 1 all the way up to 10. So there you go. I'll put this back on frequency 6. And also when this changes, and let me go back to normal so it's not annoying anyone. And also I've noticed that when the screen changes, it sort of overlaps, making it very hard to read sometimes. So you just have to turn it and wait till you hit what you're looking for or just before what you're looking for, because there's a lot of overlapping on the screen, which can be annoying to some people. Now this thing goes from 100% power all the way down to 0 in increments of 1. And I will say that this is absolutely stepless. So it is very, very, very nice. Very, very solid. And that's pretty much it. Those are the controls. So I'm getting about a 48.7. So that is really terrific when you are talking about fan noise. All right, so let's go right into the center here, right into the hot spot, and take a reading. And I am getting about 11.4, and I'm getting 67,000 lux, which is pretty good. Now let's go off to the side here and measure not so much there. And I'm getting about a 2.86, and I'm getting 4,800 lux. So there definitely is an incredible hot spot in the center there. Now let's try it without the dish. Without the dish, the reading I'm getting down the center is getting about a 4 at 6,301 lux. So not too bad. Okay, with this reading right here, I am getting, in the center, I'm getting a 4 and a 6,301 lux. Now we'll do it off to the side here. And again, I'm getting a 2.87 and around 5,000 lux. So there you go. Now, one thing to note is do not touch the top of this. This is very, very hot. If I left my hand here, it gets very hot. It's very hot right here. And that's because there is a giant heat sink at the top pushing all the air out from here. So just keep your hands away from the top. Either hold it here or grab it by the bottom. And even the bottom around the light is a little bit warm. So basically just hold it here and by the mount and you should be fine. This does get very, very, very warm. So very, very impressed that this is actually holding the light dome 2. That is incredibly impressive. This mount is just working very, very well. I am very impressed with it. Now you do get a long enough lead, which is great, so that the power brick is on the ground. Now one thing I will show you is, yeah, this is very, very, very difficult to read from this angle. I had a very hard time. I actually had to step back and then reach in order to read this display. So the display, not the best, but really loving how strong this mount is, how strong the Bowens is. Love the fact that, yes, you can hold a light dome too with this. So super awesome. And here we are at 60% power. Now, I like to use 60% power because when you're shooting with Slog3, which we're doing with this camera, you want to overexpose it by 2 or 3 stops. So this is 3 stops over, and that's going to get you a little bit more control. At least that's what I've been hearing, but let me know down in the notes below if you would overexpose this slightly or leave it exactly perfectly exposed when you're using Slog3 in the cinema gamut. Okay, so where do I land on the RC120D? This is a very interesting light. Now let's talk negatives. First off, starting from the bottom, you do get this plastic handle. Not really a negative, it's fairly strong. I have no problem with it. Now let's talk about the back here, the screen. Not the best screen I've seen, but not the worst. Now it does disappear at very sharp angles, so that is something that you will have to contend with. Also, when you're changing the settings, it sort of overlaps over what you're reading, making it very difficult to read. So really wish they had used a different screen here. And also it is very easy to nudge the special effects button when adjusting this, and suddenly you'll be surrounded by paparazzi. I really wish that they had made this so that you press it in and then it changes. But unfortunately, it's just a twist of the button to change into the special effects. And it's odd that the normal mode is considered a special effect. I think that's just, it almost feels like it was lazy programming. They didn't want to have to program different things. So there you go. But all in all, not too bad. The special effects are the special effects. They work okay. They will work a little bit, they work fairly well than when compared to some other brands. They're fine. They're just not my favorite. Some of them are not my favorite. Some of them work really well. Some of them don't. And I'll leave it at that. Now, the next negative is after running for about 15-20 minutes, do not put your hand up top. Because there is a giant computer heat sink in this thing attached to the fan, the top does get fairly warm, as does around the bottom here. So just be careful because that could be a safety issue. But all in all, it seems pretty much fine. You do have a very nice handle back here to grab onto. The next con is the fact that I cannot attach the power pack to a light stand, so I'm going to have to DIY this. Also, this does get very, very warm on the ground, so just be aware where you put this. And also, I'm not a fan of this Mickey Mouse plug here. I really wish that there was, like on the apertures, there was some kind of safety lock. Not my favorite. And finally, the inside of the case comes with this very cheap, very weird like foam here. Now, inside the case, there is a wall that I'm definitely sure will break, will rip sooner than later. This seems very weak to me right here, so this will probably have to be glued back and or replaced. I would most likely, I might get something custom cut for this, or I would take this out and spray it with some like Flex Seal or some whatever they call that stuff to make this a little bit more rigid, Plastidip, because this feels like this is going to give way eventually. And plus it is very, very, very tight in this case. So it's very difficult, unless you roll up the wires exactly, it is very difficult to get this back in the case. So keep that in mind as well. So yeah, so the case, the inside of the case is meh, but the outside of the case is wonderful. From the negative to the positive. Now, first off, love the XLR cable. I love that it's solid now. I really wish, and I'm gonna look to see if there is a XLR to DTAP cable, because I really want to know if I could power this with a V-mount battery. Some kind of V-mount option would have been super awesome. I am gonna go look into that. So there might be an update pretty soon. And I love the fact that they do give you tons and tons and tons and tons of cord, even though it does not fit, it is not attached to the light stand. Another great thing is the fact that this is actually a piece of foam that you pop in here to protect your dish. Everyone should learn from this company. This is fantastic. Stop putting cardboard in, cheap pieces of cardboard in here. This is great. Love to see the foam. And of course, the protective cap is very, very, very solid. So, and works very, very well. Now, let's talk about the light and all the pros. Now, first off, this sucker is heavy, and it is built like a tank. The fan is super, super quiet. It's got a fantastic lock here. There is maybe a little play, but it's not terrible. You get a very nice solid dish, which I like to see. This thing is super bright. You do get special effects. You do get stepless dimming, which I like, and the light quality seems to be fairly spot on. I do like the fact that you get a hard button here. So if you want to attach this to an Amazon plug and hang it somewhere, then you can just tell your Amazon to turn it on, and it'll work in the studio. Super awesome. I do like the fact that there is an XLR. Again, I'm going to explore this to see if there are other options I could use for powering it. And this thing is just built, it's made of partially plastic, partially metal, partially really, really strong plastic. I love the handle back here. I love the all metal mount, with the exception of the handle. It's all metal. And thank you, thank you, thank you, SmallRig, for not making it a Rosetta. Thank you for making it an actual ratchet. It is absolutely a dream, beautiful. I can get this into the right position that I want it. And of course, you do have an umbrella right there. And something I didn't mention before is there is Bluetooth on this. There is a little Bluetooth reset button. It's very, very small right here, this reset button. Now, I'm not going to be covering the phone app. If you guys want me to cover the phone app, leave me a link in the notes below and I'll go through it. I'm kind of done reviewing phone apps. They all kind of just work the same. So there is that. But all in all, this thing is a absolute beast. I am absolutely impressed with this thing. Now, who is this for? If this is for everyone, if you are a filmmaker, if you are doing interviews, if you are doing YouTube or whatever, this thing is fantastic. Even for your church use, this is great. Now, it is a bit on the pricey side at the price, which I will leave down on the screen because I did not bother to look it up before this review. Yeah, there you go. Very, very, very nice. I am very, very impressed with this. I'm very surprised at how well this works. Now, I'm going to try to get my hands on the bicolor version, so stay tuned. But this thing is fairly rock solid, and I am very impressed. So that's it. Those are my thoughts, but I want to know yours. So leave your questions and comments in the notes below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to mash that bell button to be notified when we drop a brand new video. And feel free to use the links below as it helps out the channel. I'm Stephen Michael Zach, and this is new to me.